So my name is Kwabena Owusu. I work for LetiArts. We make games and digital comics. So LetiArts has been around for 5, going to 6 years now. The first game that was made was by the two co-founders, Aram Akofateria, who is now the CEO, and Wesley Kirinya, who is now the CTO. So it was called iWarrior for the iOS, that's Apple's platform. Since then, we've come a long way. We've created an in-house franchise called Africa's Legends, which is basically Africa's version of the Avengers from Marvel's or DC Comics Justice League. And we do consulting. So there are two parts of the company. We do our in-house stuff around Africa's Legends, and then we have consulting, where we make games for third parties, mostly development agencies and non-profits. The answer to that is yes and a little no. So what I mean by that is, for those who've been exposed to our games, they love it. They are playing it. We've had 50,000 downloads across Android and Windows Phone. What we are learning is, even though gaming is something people love, it's still very nascent, like very new in Africa, because it's just not being something that, for example, it's a cultural thing. Our parents, when we were growing up, even though I grew up with Aram, and we both loved playing games, but it wasn't seen as something that your parents encouraged. They rather wanted you to read a book or study. They didn't see gaming as something that stimulates creative thinking. And that culture, even though it's going away, is still there. A parent doesn't want their kid playing games for 5 hours. So they're embracing it, but it's slow. It's a new field. It's not as developed as the market in the US or even in an area like Finland. So it's something that's coming up. I can just break it down into kind of like 3 phases. So the initial phase was proving whether you could build games from Africa, which was done with the first game called iWarrior for the iOS platform. The second phase was coming up with IP that was exciting. By that I mean exciting content. We did that by building Africa's Legends. We currently have about 10 to 12 characters, about 3 or 4 fully fledged. So we have what we are doing is we are using historic figures and some fictional characters to try and mix it up. So we have Shaka, we have Pharaoh, we have Yasantua, we have Shango from Nigeria. We are doing one around the Moroccan princess, which is the new one that's going to come out. We have Princess Nzenga, and then we have characters like the Wadabian assassin, who's just made up, Donald, who's also a bad guy. So most of the villains are made up, but I mean, in order to have a diverse universe that's exciting, like the Avengers universe and the Justice League universe, we are just mixing historic influence characters with fictional characters. So where we are now is to go commercial. We've done 2 small games. We've proved the concept. We've shown people will download the games. But it's about now doing a flagship game that will really make money for the company. That's where we are now. Now the main challenge has been finding the right skill sets. There are good programmers in Africa, but there are not a lot of good game developers in Africa. So programming, yes, but game development requires you to mix your programming skills with creativity. And it's been a challenge finding the right skill sets, especially since the 2 co-founders wanted the story not to be Harvard-trained Africans build a game company, but rather African-trained entrepreneurs use African talent to build an African studio that is world-class. So that's been a challenge. The other has been funded. Building a game is expensive. There's no way around it. Just getting the game done, marketing requires a lot of investment. So we are at that stage where that's where we have to be. So next year we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign for the flagship game, and we're hoping that Africans both here and the diaspora will bring out their wallets and support this initiative, so we can build a game that competes with Clash of Clans, Angry Birds and the like, and not a smaller game which feels like, oh, they are trying. We don't want to try, we just want to build the best game possible. LetiArts has a different story from most of the companies in the incubator. Aram, the current CEO, was actually a teaching fellow with the Entrepreneurial school, and as During the time he was teaching, he struck up a relationship with the founder of Meltwater, Bjorn Lissigen, and he funded the company with $100,000 initially, and that's kind of how Leti joined the incubator. But Aram and Wesley had always been about trying to make games, and so they were going to do it, but Meltwater was the initial investor, and that's how LetiArts joined the incubator. The incubator provides access to other entrepreneurs who are facing similar problems, even if in different industries. Each of us needs to figure out how to acquire customers. Each of us needs to figure out how to hire the right team members, how to find additional funding, how to just turn these startup ideas into an operational business, and being close to other people just helps to bounce off ideas. The other thing is just the access that, because it's in a single place, when investors come around, people who have experience in your industry come around, they come in groups and you kind of have access to this network which comes around, and that's quite good because networking is very important for startups. So I think access to other entrepreneurs and then the kinds of people you meet just around the incubator.